Silver Defender asks a question about the water torture episode. This is an episode that Carrie, Tori, and Grant did. Actually, it might have even been Scotty. That might have been season 1. At any rate, the M7 team did Chinese water torture, which is, can you make someone go mad by dropping drops of water on their forehead? And that seems like a classic thing we should test, right? MythBusters, Chinese water torture. Everyone knows that is. Have you ever had a detailed conversation about torture in any way, shape, or form? Because any conversation you're going to have about torture is a terrible, terrible conversation that involves the structured harming of human beings by human beings. There is nothing worse than this. And that episode got greenlit because of all of our naivete about what that might entail, about what filming an episode like that might entail. And we all regretted making that episode. It wasn't just hard on Carrie. It was hard on every one of us. And there's a couple of interviews that were just like, the crew came back from these interviews, just everyone just like washcloths wrung out. It's the worst stories. You got to be careful with that kind of stuff. Yeah. I wouldn't go towards that story today. It's just nothing entered the idea of talking about humans purposefully harming each other and entertainment. Don't get me wrong, I love a Bond movie like anybody else, but that's fiction. There's not a lot of entertainment value in stories about torture. So I regret that we did that. I think we all do as an organization regret that we did that episode. Silver Defender, I want to tell you, the most upsetting email I might have ever received came about 2 years after that episode aired. An anonymous sender who did not sign their email from some Hotmail account said, basically iterated that the person writing the email had been on a team that was torturing people. They were extracting information and they decided to try Chinese water torture. And what he said they found was that periodicity and not being able to predict it was the thing that made people crazy, not the water itself. And that you needed to do something that would be absolutely impossible to predict, and that would unhinge people. Very quickly, he said. And I thought, I don't want to know anything about this. I'm sad that I now know that fact. I am, as my new favorite podcaster, Tansy Gardam, often says, I am cursed with knowledge, and now, unfortunately, so are you. Yeah. Phil Redbeard says, I'd like to ask a question about materials. Beyond your basic MythBusters bread and butter materials and the weirdest materials, was there perhaps an unexpected or surprising material that proved to be the precise solution you needed at the time? Have I gone on too much about animal birthing lube on the channel before? No. Okay, let's talk about animal birthing lube. We were doing an episode about, slipping on a banana peel. That's it. And the myth was, is a banana peel a guaranteed slip accident? And then once you explore that, there's the question of like, how low friction can you make a surface? And this is made more difficult by the fact that the slipping with your legs out in front of you and landing on your ass is the most dangerous stunt in the movies. That more people have lost their livelihood and their health executing that stunt, slipping on a banana peel slip, than almost any other kind of stunt. So we built a giant sprung floor, I think 20 by 30 feet, using a bunch of old truck inner tubes and some OSB particle board. And then we needed a whole bunch of lube. We wanted to make the surface as slippery as we possibly could. So we called up the local, a local purveyor of fetish equipment called Mr. S. Leathers. They were a regular supplier to MythBusters for our entire run, a very MythBusters friendly place. And it's a fetish sex materials store. So it's and in San Francisco. So let me just explain that, like, when you walk into Mr. S, you ever walk into a kitchen where someone's cooking something that's got a lot of flavor to it, and the smell in the kitchen isn't bad, but it's intense, and you have to kind of You have to take some deep breaths to kind of acclimatize your lungs to the new smell in the kitchen. Mr. S Leathers is like that visually. You walk in and you're like, woo, woo. It is a place that wears its freak flag so proudly, and it is visually surprising the first time you walk in. And like I said, they supplied us with all sorts of things like arm-length rubber gloves. That was where we got those when we needed them. And we called them up and said, we need a whole bunch of lube. And they said, oh, you want the animal birthing lubricant? And we said, what's that? And they're like, well, it's lube, but it's powdered. So you can make as much as you want. And actually, here's how animal birthing lubricant works. If you're a farmer and one of your sheep or cows is about to give birth and you need to put your arms inside of this creature to help that birth happen, you would take this powder and you'd sprinkle the powder on your hands and you'd wet them, and it's like Methacel or something like that. The powder is made of tiny, tiny particles that hold 100 times their weight in water. They absorb it. Similar kind of stuff is in a baby's diaper. And so the moment you get your hands wet, they get super slick. Or if you want 5 gallons of lube, you take a single bottle of the powdered lube and you pour it in, you add water and you use a mixer and you get 5 gallons of lube. So cut to Savage Builds, and I am trying to come up with a penalty device for a penalty device that would not harm me, and we end up choosing to use water balloons full of lube. And we need to send a PA back to Mr. S to go get some powdered lube. And we send our producer Brooke's husband. He was free at the time and working for us on the production, and Brooke's husband goes down to Mr. S Leathers and he says, hi there, I need some animal birthing lubricant that you guys sell. And they were like, oh, yeah. They said, you probably don't want that stuff. You probably want this stuff. It's much better and much easier to use. And he's like, actually, I need the stuff I've spec'd and I need 5 bottles of it. And they were like, you need 5 bottles? That's gonna make 25 gallons of lube. And he was like, yeah, that's what I'm told I need to pick up. And the guy behind the counter goes like this. He goes, okay, how many insertions are you planning? Which is, at that moment in time, the new favorite piece of institutional knowledge I did not need to know. That somewhere in San Francisco is a guy with a chart who knows exactly how much lube to sell you. Yeah, we had stories like that all the time. Thank you for watching. I wanted to talk to you about Tested membership. The Tested members are a key community that we find really, really remarkable. That's very separate from Tested and from YouTube. The Tested members, they buy each other memberships during our live streams. So if you're wondering whether to become a member, watch one of our live streams and someone may just give you one. It is hard to overestimate how much the Tested members actually make possible on this channel. They give us a lot of wiggle room. They give us a huge amount of feedback.
That's a member right now.
Thank you so much for enjoying your membership. Link in the description for everything you need to know. And for all the members out there, thank you, thank you, thank you.